Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Jon Gaunt Show. Today, the self-serving pigs of Westminster have got their snouts right in the trough again. What am I on about? Well, it's the spring statement this week, which is another word for an emergency budget. The economy is in free fall. 10,000 civil servants are going to lose their jobs. I don't think we're going to lose too much sleep over that. But everybody's going to be asked to tighten their belt again. And it's all this woman's fault. Rachel Reeves, Rachel from Accounts, the woman who lied on her CV that she'd been an economist at the Bank of Scotland. And not only that, when I say the snouts are in the trough, she has just been exposed as taking £6,000, not £6,000, £600 tickets to see somebody called Sabrina Carpenter, who I'm reliably informed is the lady behind me. There you are. Can you see her? Oh, no, me neither. Never heard of the woman, but evidently she's very successful. She's a pop star for young kids. So, of course, the essential question is, why would the Chancellor of the Exchequer want to go and see a pop concert by somebody like Sabrina Carpenter? I'd have thought the Carpenters were more her bag, so to speak. It's obvious she's taken a child there. But let me explain to you the excuses she's given for taking another big, fat freebie, because you need to understand these are the people who run our country. And it's not just Labour. We know the Tories are up to it as well. Last year, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, was forced to vow not to accept any clothing while she was the Chancellor after it was revealed she had taken £7,500 for outfits whilst in opposition. What is wrong with these people? They're earning a hell of a lot more money than you and I. Why can't they buy their own clothes? But it comes right from the top, of course. Lord Ali and all the clothes that he bought Sir Keir Starmer. £32,000 in clothes Starmer took off Lord Ali. I don't know what he got in return for it, but it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Starmer paid back thousands of pounds of his gifts, evidently, including the tickets that he took to see Taylor Swift. Now, I don't know whether you watched Laura Kunsberg. Oh, by the way, hi, how you doing? Did you watch Laura Kunsberg yesterday? I mean, it's the most tedious political show in the world. But she had Rachel Reeves on there, and Rachel Reeves was squirming when Laura, the BBC, asked her the question about why did she take the tickets. This was her response. Well, I do now have security, which means it's not as easy as it would have been in the past to just sit in a concert, although that would probably be a lot easier for everyone concerned. When she was asked if she paid, she replied, well, obviously, listen to what she said, I'll declare the value of them, but they weren't tickets that you were able to buy. Well, I'm sure they weren't ones that you were able to buy because they were big, fat freebies given to you by the people who run the Dome. That's where they came from. Now, this is terrible. You might think, Gaunty, it's only 600 quid's worth of tickets, or you're just jealous because you'd like them. There's a big difference between a fat, washed up ex-shock jock getting a freebie and the Chancellor of the bloody Exchequer, who this week will be making fundamental decisions about our economy and about business. Remember, this is the woman who came to power and made all those promises. And then she talked about the black hole. Have you noticed we've had no explanation of what that black hole consists of? She's also the woman who immediately gave public sector employees a massive pay rise. Now, I'm not going into the merits or demerits of that, but she spent money like that dustbin man who won the lottery all those years ago. Do you remember that yobbo from Norwich? She was like Viv Nicholson, spend on speed. And that's what they've done. All their favourite sixth form projects they've funded. Meanwhile, forgetting to check our vital infrastructure. That's why I'm doing the podcast or the broadcast this morning. I've been so angry all day yesterday, but we had a family day, so I couldn't really sneak off to do a broadcast. I'm fuming at Rachel Reeves. She's on the take. She's also the woman who fiddled her CV, and she seems to have got off with that scot-free. Then Starmer, he's got off with the £2,500 glasses. Not the underwear, but the clothes for his wife. The fact that his son studied for his A-levels in Lord Ali's penthouse flat. What is going on? Are these sixth formers who are now in charge of our country, and let's face it, they're only in charge by default because they were the least worst option. Now, of course, you can say, what about Boris? What about Rishi? What about whatever? And you're right. I'm saying everybody in Westminster is a self-serving pig. They've got their snouts in the trough as soon as they get there, and they don't give a SH1T about you or me. They discuss me. If you want to comment, you can. I've got the comment line open. Feel free. I'll take some now. Magpie just says morning. Mark Petey says morning. Perhaps say a bit more than morning if you can. Denise Deacons, he says, these politicians have no shame or humility. Denise, on Facebook, you've hit it right on the head. She had no shame yesterday. She was a bit embarrassed because Laura Kunsberg had asked the question. And, of course, Pravda, the BBC, they don't normally ask very difficult questions. And she squirmed a little bit. But in the end, she got away with it. There is no way the Chancellor should be taking free tickets. Likewise, Starmer, he gets free tickets for the Arsenal. No, it shouldn't happen because it compromises them. Do you agree or disagree? Now, this is going to overshadow the spring statement. And I mean, in itself, that is just an incredible event that is going to happen this week. It's meant to be just saying, oh, normally it's steady as she goes. We've done this, we've done that. But they know there's figures coming out on Wednesday that says we are not just up SH1T Creek. We've definitely got no paddle, and the boat has got a hole in it. These clowns, these sixth formers, these inexperienced ex-polytechnic lecturers who like to wear Birkenstocks and, let's go to Kefalonia, skinny dipping, and are so bloody woke, they have completely wrecked our country. Now, as I said earlier, the Tories started it. They did leave a massive problem. They were spending money like idiots too. But the bottom line is she has made it worse. And so we're going to get austerity. If you think we had austerity a few years ago, to use the new cliche, we're going to have austerity on steroids. We're heading for a really bad time. And that means that's the question. How does she satisfy the market and the Labour Party? Because if you think Rachel Reeves is a problem and Starmer's a problem, listen to the backbenchers who are now beginning to revolt. They don't want things cut. They don't want, 100,000 10,000 civil servants cut? No, because this is attacking, just like in America with Elon Musk, it's attacking their very core base. Don't you see what's happening here? It's gerrymandering on a massive scale. That's why they gave the money to the public sector almost on day one. Surely it would have been more financially sensible to get into office. If you believe that the Tories were such baddies, get into office, look at the books, and then decide what you can pay. But no, doctors, here you go. Everybody, here you go. Teachers, here you go. It was bonanza day for people. And again, I'm not necessarily saying is that right or wrong, but I'm saying she's now got herself in a position where she is so out of her depth because she wasn't this top economist she said that she was. And It's the country that she could drag down with her. Am I over the top? Am I wrong? Am I right? I want your views. David Edwards says she's Rachel Reeves. What would you do, says Jerry Tommy. What would you do if you were Prime Minister in the same situation? Well, I'll give you one suggestion. I'd definitely do. I'd stop the bloody boats. I would empty every single hotel today, and those people who are fleeing persecution or are economic migrants, they would live in army camps. And if there wasn't enough accommodation, I'd put up the tents. If they're good enough for our boys, why aren't they good enough for people who, whether you agree with them or not, if you think it's okay just to enter our country illegally, you are an absolute idiot. So that's the first thing I would do. I would secure our borders and I'd send videos, YouTube videos all around the world of these people being moved out of the hotels and put into army camps and into tents. That's the first thing I'd do. The next thing I'd do, I'd sort out the log jam of all the people who are waiting to be sorted out. That has been deliberately created. What's your name again? Jerry Thomas. That's been deliberately created by the political class. When I attack Rachel Reeves today, I'm not just attacking the Labour Party. I'm not a Tory. I hate them. I despise the Tories that we've had recently. They're just as corrupt and just as crooked as Rachel Reeves and the rest of Starmer's stormtroopers. So this is not a party political broadcast. So get your head out of your tribal backside, Jerry, and see what I'm saying. So that's the first thing I'd do. I would cut down on that. I would also make foreign companies like Amazon and the rest of them, Google, pay the proper tax that they should be paying for this country. That's what I would do. And then the tax avoiders, the individual tax avoiders, I'd come down on them like a sack of bricks. And then, that's the next thing I'd do. I'd cut the waste. 10,000 civil servants, not enough. I would do an Elon Musk. I'd get the bloody chainsaw out and chop the waste down. Councils, I would sort them out. There's a need for diversity, of course. And we want a meritocracy where from wherever you come from, whatever your sex, whatever your sexuality, your gender, and the rest of it, of course, you should have an equal opportunity, but you shouldn't be given an advantage. And we don't need all these diversity managers in the NHS. Then, on the NHS, have you had enough of my ideas yet? I would also charge £10 every time you go to the doctor. And if you don't turn up, you don't get your 10 quid back. Is that enough ideas for you just off the top of my head, Jerry? Because that's what we've got to do in this country. We've got to be tough. Stop acting as if we're Viv Nicholson or that. I wish I could remember his name. What was his name? The dustbin man. We've got to stop acting like that. And we've also got to put party tribalism to one side. We are in a mess. The latest thing that Thieves is saying, she's saying it's all Donald Trump's fault now. What? Because Donald Trump's demanded we pay the right amount for NATO? No, it's your fault and successive governments and successive politicians in Britain and in the rest of Europe who haven't paid their fair share. I stand with America and with Donald Trump on this particular issue. So, Jerry, I hope that gives you some idea of what I would do. And also, I would clamp down on expenses for MPs. They don't need to go first class. Maybe if they started going standard class, like the rest of us, cattle class, they'd understand what a shit railway system we've got at the moment. If they got out of their ivory towers, they might understand just how bad this country is. They've given all this money for potholes. The roads won't get any better. They'll still be like downtown Kabul after we bombed it into the Stone Age. That's what's wrong with our country. And I'll tell you the final thing for you, Jerry, if you want to shove it in your pipe and smoke it, is this. I would reward those who work hard, those who contribute, those who want to send their kids to school, rather than, here we are, ready for it, rather than the work shy, rather than the long-term useless, rather than the skivers and the scroungers. So I would attack both ends. Big business and the people who are not paying their taxes correctly, and people who are taking the PISS out of all of us. That's what I would do. But what we need to do, first of all, is get rid of Rachel Reeves. How can we have a chancellor who's not even an economist? I know we've had them in the past, but how can we have somebody who lied about it? And it is a lie, what she did. How can we have a prime minister who lied to get into office? I know they all lie in their manifestos, but it was a complete pack of lies. And before you ask me, who would you replace them with? That's the dilemma. And I think that's why I'm so angry. That's why I'm so frustrated. There is no alternative. They're all, listen to me, self-serving pigs with their snouts in the trough. Magpie 1972 says, good question. What, Jerry Tommy was a good question. Well, if that was a good question, do you not think my answer was brilliant? Because I do. Magpie says, this is our Joe Biden moment in the UK. Hopefully not full term. Who next to be PM? Well, yes, you're missing the point. We have to get rid of this miserable shower of you-know-what first, because I can't believe that Starmer got away with what he got away with last week. He disappeared. He was missing in action, wasn't he? As Heathrow burned and planes couldn't take off, where was he? Like the chief executive of the airport went to bed rather than dealt with the problem. And then people are saying to me, you're being too harsh. It's not Starmer's fault. If it's not Starmer's fault, whose fault is it? The book stops with him. Our major airport was closed down. Why hasn't anybody ever thought, oh, we better have a backup? And now they're saying, oh, we had one. And then they're saying, oh, no, but we took it out because we of the greenhouse effect and because of green policies. Well, let's get to the core of why Heathrow closed. But let's also get to the question and the answer of where was Wally last week? Where was Keir Starmer? Missing in action. This is the Jon Gaunt show. What else could it be? Are you enjoying it? If you are, why don't you help me out by buying me a coffee? That's how I fund this. I don't get any money from anybody else. It's www.buymeacoffee.com. It's a $5 a time. You can pay 3, 4, 5. Somebody did 10 the other day. Whatever you want to do. Let's keep this going. This is the genuine home of free speech. I make up my own agenda. No silly little producers who have never done anything. Oh, I saw a guy on GB News today. I've been on there with him. I don't know what his name is. He used to be a political advisor. And he's there with his open neck shirt today. And he actually said the truth, which is, I don't know why I became an advisor, because I basically know nothing. He said, I'm just a kid. And that's the problem. And that's every political party. They have kids advising them. They should have members of the public. They should have little committees. People who've lived a bit. People who know what it's like to survive on a pittance. Where are we now? Delboy. Morning, John. I'm on disability with carers that contribute 134 quid a week. If I had £600 to go into my bank, I'd have to explain to the DWP. It's disgraceful from this. I won't say the next word because it is a bit sexist, mate, but I understand what you mean. He's absolutely fuming. I'm with you, my friend. He said, I also contribute 134 quid a week. Paul on Twitter, well, X says, I miss you on 3 counties. I haven't been on 3 counties since I've worn long trousers, mate. It's about 20 odd years. I really enjoyed my time there, by the way. It was brilliant. And of course, we won all those awards, which of course are now being forgotten about by the radio industry because I'm in the wilderness. I'm going to get some tumbleweed behind me eventually because that's what it feels like some days. Andy George, instead of uniting the country, these ineffective, out of touch politicians. I should put up the things. Sorry, I keep forgetting to do this. Out of touch politicians are just making the gap between the haves and the have-nots wider and wider with everything they do. I agree with you, Andy. I tell you what it is. Starmer has got the Midas touch in reverse. There was a time in my career where literally everything I touched turned to gold. I just couldn't fail. Everything I did. You want to do that? Da-da-da-da-da. And then you get the Midas touch in reverse where everything you touch turns to SH1T. Well, that's where Keir Starmer is. Every time he makes a decision, it's the wrong decision. You see, because it's like Rachel Reeves now blaming, hold on a minute, I need a drink. She's now blaming Trump when actually we never contributed. And also, instead of saying, "Oh, Zelensky, we love you," and taking the knee like he did to the black gangsters movement, Starmer should have been with Trump. He should have stood completely with Trump, not giving him his silly, snidey little comments from the sidelines or trying to wind up Putin. You are nothing, Starmer. You should have backed the most powerful man in the world. Jenny Maudsley, every day we're feeling poorer. Why she seems to think she's putting money in our pockets. Deluded woman. She has to go. You're right, she has to go. Oh, hang on a minute. He's back now. Jerry Tommy. I completely understand where you're coming from. To be honest, I like how honest you are. Most people are afraid to say their true opinions, but not you. Well, why did you wind me up at the beginning of the program, Jerry? Huh? Good stuff, because it made some good material for me. But there we go. So now you understand me. Fine. I hope everybody understands me. What this country needs is tough love and fair love as well. I keep laughing every time I see this Breakfast Club bullshit that they go on about, that the education secretary. Kids should be fed by their parents. And if we've brought up generations of parents who don't know how to look after their children, how's that happening? How do we reverse that? Why don't we go to the core of the problem? And I hate the way that what's happening at the moment, what she's doing at the moment, is almost impossible to believe that this is the Labour Party, socialists. Look at this. I wrote this in the blurb for you. Looking back at last year, it's hard to believe that under this Labour leadership, the government are making these decisions, like they're going to cut disability benefits. Yeah, chop the legs off the disabled, metaphorically speaking. They're slashing overseas aid. Well, I agree with that. That should be reduced to zero. However, it's not a Labour type policy, is it? They've reduced the civil service. Well, that's good, but 10,000's not enough. They want to tighten eligibility for the winter fuel allowance. No, they don't. They want to cut it. And that's foul. The very people who have put their money in there, 10 million people deciding between heat and meat. It's an absolute disgrace, and more of a disgrace because it's Labour doing it. The kind party, the caring party, the socialist party. Socialist, my ARSE. And then, of course, they've raised, this is the big one. Oh, we're bringing down the price of a pint by a penny. Big deal. You've put up national insurance on employers. Come April, we're going to have pubs and restaurants and cafes and bistros. The length and breadth of this great country of ours closing down. No one can afford to do business anymore. Oh, and there's a surprise. Rachel Reeves and the rest of them have never worked in a real business, have they? And that's what's wrong with this country. And that's what's wrong with this particular government. Although, as I say, it's the same with the Tories. The Tories were useless. They were corrupt. They were disgraceful. And what they did was completely and utterly wrong. The whole political class have let you down. And then their buddies, their little chum-chums in the media, in the BBC, in the newspapers, they all back them up. And so today there was some bloke on there, Henry somebody, on the BBC. So I flicked through the channels deliberately, and he was bleating about what a hard decision she's got to make, and it's going to be really difficult for her. Good. I hope she has sleepless nights for the rest of her life. She should never have had the job. Seaside Mark, driving to work on Lancashire roads is like being in a country or recovering from the war. You're right. And now they're saying, oh, we're going to give you money for the potholes, but you've got to prove you've spent it on the potholes. What? You can't trust the councils? Well, no, you can't, can you really? Let's have a look at Birmingham City Council. Bankrupt. And now you've got rats the size of cats, literally, because they're not picking up the rubbish. They're on strike again. Now, I'm not just going to blame the working class bin men for that. There's obviously a problem at the core of that council. What are we doing to solve it? Sweet Jack all. That's what's wrong with this country. No one wants to be tough because we've all got to be kind. We've all got to be woke. We've all got to look after each other. And we've all got to put our flipping pronouns first. That comes before anything else. If you dare to say something slightly off colour, I'm not even sure if I can say that. You could be up on a charge. Starmer's stormtroopers will be kicking your door in and taking you off to prison for hurty words. But take 600 quid off the people who run the Dome to see a pop concert, and that's okay. I mean, this is the point. The BBC today and everybody should be hammering Rachel Reeves. Why do you, a middle-aged woman who can't even write a CV correctly, want to go and see some pop princess? Please explain, because what she said was, it was a member of my family, i.e. a daughter. I don't know if she's got daughters or sons. She's took one of her kids, but she's not said what it is. And nobody in the media will pick her up on that because, you're not allowed to criticize her kids. That would be wrong. Well, on one level, I kind of agree with it, but you don't let her off. I'd have said, how old are you, love? Oh, no, I'd have been up on a charge for that, wouldn't I? I said, how old are you? And if she said 45, I don't know. I don't even know how old she is. I don't even know where she was born. Was it 2 test tubes on a windowsill in a lab and there was a breeze? There was a little flutter of wind and the test tubes fell over. And we created Rachel Reeves. And then some of that fluid dropped over there. And we created Phillipson, or whatever her name is, the education secretary, and a bit more over there, and the next woke warrior arrived, Angela Rayner, although she had some bits missing, and there's another test tube crashing, and this time it's Louise Haig. Do you remember her? Mobile phone lady. Lost it, found it, didn't bother telling the police, lost the job. That's what's going on. We are being ripped off. And the potholes, they won't get fixed. Of course they won't. The barren flights, it seems all candidates are not experienced or honest or capable, so we are effed. Pretty much. Even Farage now, it appears. Well, certainly he's got to sort himself out. Oh, hang on, I just noticed Rachel Reeves is standing behind you, John. Be very careful she doesn't pick your pocket. Whoops, too late. There's now in my pocket. I'm going to leave her all my debts, mate. Let me tell you. How do they get away by saying the black hole? Surely that's offensive, says Paul on X. Naughty. But anyway, how do we sort this out? How do we move forward? I couldn't believe the response I had to my show on Friday, talking about Starmer and talking about the situation we're in. Was phenomenal, through the roof. The audience is really growing. Thank you very much indeed. Don't forget we are on Twitter, Facebook. Where else are we on? YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. It's free to join my YouTube channel as a subscriber, because the more people I get, then the more people get to watch it. That's the way it effectively works. So you've got to help me. I haven't got the BBC just before EastEnders to say, now don't forget, Gaunty's on tomorrow in one of his silly shirts. Please tune in, yeah? Have you seen the way the BBC is cross-promoting itself? Absolutely disgraceful. Oh, and got to mention it. Did you watch Red Nose Day? What was that on about? What was that all about? A load of screaming harpies, and that's just the fellas, all talentless. None of them are real comedians. I just didn't get it at all. And then they started showing sketches from 18 years ago. Lisa said to me, what was it like? I said, it was crap. I turned it off. She said, why were they repeating sketches? I said, because they haven't got anything original. There's no proper comedian. They even dug up Jonathan Ross. And he was looking like the guy out of Mud who used to play the bass, went on to produce Kylie Minogue. You know, the guy used to wear flares, and the flares got bigger and bigger and wider. Eventually he ended up wearing a dress. That's what Jonathan Ross looked like. It was absolutely pathetic. And they raised £30 million. If I had the money, I'd give them the 30 million not to put the show on. Let's get your views on that. So is this a Labour government? See, people have been using this term, the uni party. And I've been thinking, it's a bit sixth form in itself. But actually, you can't tell much difference between them. You can hardly put a poppadom between Labour and the Conservatives anymore. I don't trust any of them. And then you got that idiot, Ed Davey, harping on the sidelines, the Liberal Democrat. Shut up. you idiot. And of course, Nigel and Rupert Lowe and that lot, we thought they might offer an alternative, but they're fighting like cats or rats in a sack. What is it with these people? What is it about power that changes them? Give me your answers on a postage stamp, please. What a ridiculous state we've got ourselves into. I'm pretty depressed about it. Pretty angry, pretty funny this morning as well, I think. But I just wanted to give a quick, immediate reaction to what's going on. Rachel Reeves is going to screw you over this week. Why? Because she hasn't got a clue. You wouldn't mind getting screwed, would you, if she had a plan? But like I said on Friday about Heathrow, there's no plan. There's no plan B because there's no plan A with Labour. They've not got a clue. They didn't have a plan for how they wanted to run the country. They are buffoons. They are sixth formers, and they need to be got rid of. But then I don't really see any plan on the Conservative benches either. What a state we've got ourselves into. The greatest country in the world, now totally dependent on Donald Trump to protect us. And we're still too busy going, oh, be kind. Let's look after Zelensky. I say not one British boot on Ukrainian soil. Not one. Do not allow Starmer to get away with what he's planning. He wants to send your kids to die in Ukraine. No. I say no. And I say we've got to get on top of this government. We've got to make the government listen to us. You watch, she'll attack the farmers again. She's going to attack the people with disabilities, the weakest in our communities. She's already had a pop at the students. Now, then she wants to have just the whole thing is despicable. Absolutely despicable. And she's going to kill the countryside. You like going to that little village pub, do you, for steak and chips? Forget it. Well, one, you won't be allowed to have steak because cows fart, and evidently that's bad for the environment, according to that idiot Ed Miliband. And two, you can't drive there anymore because you've got a gas guzzler, you've got to buy an electric car. And three, you won't be able to get there because of the potholes, because no one will get those repaired. And four, they won't be open because publicans and restaurateurs, the length and breadth of our great nation, are going to go bust after April because of the NI rises. And I'm going to finish now with Denise Deacon on Facebook. She says, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yeah, it's the Machiavelli line, isn't it? You're absolutely right. They are drunk on power. That's what Labour are, drunk on power. And by the way, where is Wally? Has he turned up this morning? He'll be lying low, won't he? He's probably with Zelensky planning world domination. I give up. Anyway, if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. If you like the show, please tell everyone about it. But mostly, give your kids a kiss, give them a hug, and don't forget to tell them you love them. My name's Jon Gaunt. I'll speak to you very soon.